I got a LinkedIn notification that my position had been reposted while I was still in it. I walked over to HR, showed them the screenshot, and said nothing, just stared. By noon, my manager called me in and said, "It was just a mistake. Don't take it personal." I nodded, packed my things, and left one folder on his chair, 86 pages, whistleblower report. It happened on a Tuesday morning. I was finishing my second coffee and going through a spreadsheet when my phone buzzed. I barely looked at notifications anymore, but something about the LinkedIn logo caught my eye. I glanced down. New job posted. Company name, Project Operations Manager, city, that was my title. My exact title. Same city. Same department. At first, I thought it was a mistake. Maybe a duplicate role? Maybe they were expanding? I clicked the post. Nope. It was my job description, word for word. The same responsibilities I had been doing for 5 years. The same desired qualifications they pulled from my resume. Same salary band. It wasn't a new role. It was mine, and they were hiring for it. While I was still sitting in the chair, I stared at it for a long time. Everything around me kind of faded. I looked up across the office, and no one seemed to notice anything. My manager, Ken, was in his office on the phone, waving his hand around like always. My coworkers were talking about lunch, business as usual, and I just sat there, realizing I was already gone. I printed the listing, folded it in half, slid it in my notebook. Then I walked to HR. I didn't make a scene. I didn't ask any questions. I didn't accuse anyone. I just walked in, sat down, opened my notebook, and turned the page toward Melissa, our HR business partner. She looked at it. Her mouth opened slightly. She glanced at me, then back at the paper. I said nothing, just stared. She looked like she wanted to say something, but instead, she just clicked around her computer and said, "Let me check on this." I stood up and left. That silence told me everything I needed to know. By noon, Ken asked me to come to his office. He had that weird fake casual tone he always used when something was about to go sideways. "Hey, got a sec," he said like nothing was wrong. I walked in, closed the door. He told me the post wasn't meant to go live publicly, that it was a clerical error from talent acquisition. "It's part of our yearly role reviews," he said. "You're doing fine, don't take it personally." I didn't respond, just nodded. He looked relieved, like he thought that was it. I walked back to my desk, took out the folder I kept in the bottom drawer. It was thick, nearly an inch. I'd been adding to it slowly over last year. It started with little things, timesheets that didn't add up, projects that got marked complete even though the work wasn't finished. Then the discrepancies in vendor payments. I noticed a contractor getting paid for months after their contract ended. When I asked finance about it, I got brushed off. Then I found out that same contractor was Ken's cousin. I didn't say anything. When Amanda, one of our data analysts, went to HR after being berated in a team meeting by a VP, she cried in the bathroom afterward. I helped her calm down. 2 weeks later, she got laid off for performance concerns. Her files were clean. No complaints. They erased her. That's when I started saving everything. Screenshots, emails, meeting invites, expense reports. Even recorded a Zoom call once when Ken told us to massage the numbers before submitting the Q4 report. At first, I didn't know what I was building. I told myself it was just protection, in case they came for me. But over time, I realized I was collecting evidence. By the time they quietly tried to replace me, I had 86 pages of it. That afternoon, I packed up my things. I didn't say goodbye. I didn't send a farewell email. I just slid that folder onto Ken's chair as I left. Printed, hole punched, tabbed. On the front, whistleblower report, internal misconduct and compliance failures. I also dropped off a second copy with a lawyer I'd been quietly speaking to for months. Employment law wasn't new to him. He'd seen stories like mine. But he told me I had more than most. That night, I got a text from a friend still at the company. Ken looked like he saw a ghost. HR called me the next morning. Twice. Then emailed. They said they wanted to talk about recent events. I didn't respond. Within weeks, there were closed-door meetings. I watched the company's LinkedIn posts go quiet. People started changing their job titles. I heard 2 directors stepped down for personal reasons. Ken disappeared off the company Slack, then off LinkedIn entirely. But I knew that wasn't the end. I thought dropping the folder would be the end of it. I imagined they'd panic, maybe fire a few people quietly, try to bury the mess. But what I didn't expect was how far they'd go to protect themselves. About a week after I left, I got a letter in the mail. Not an apology, not a settlement offer. A cease and desist from the company's legal team. They accused me of unauthorized possession of confidential information and defamation. They were threatening me. I took it straight to my lawyer. He laughed, but not in a happy way. He told me it was a scare tactic, that they were trying to shut me up before I went public or filed a claim with the labor board. Or worse, sent it to the press. We drafted a formal response. Attached the exact statutes they had violated. Named every regulation broken in the documents. Added a line reminding them of the whistleblower protections in place, federal and state. After that, they went quiet again. But not for long. 2 weeks later, I got a call from Amanda. She was crying. She said someone from the company had contacted her, told her she was being included in a potential investigation, that she might be asked to confirm that I had tampered with documents. She was terrified. She still hadn't found another job since they laid her off. She was barely holding on. They were trying to flip her, use her. I told her I had everything backed up, that she didn't need to do anything, that it wasn't her fault. But it shook me. It showed me how scared they were and how far they'd go. Then it got worse. One day, I checked my credit report and saw a new inquiry from a background check company I didn't recognize. I hadn't applied for any jobs through them. I looked into it. It was the same company our HR department used for hiring and internal investigations. They had pulled my file. Illegally. I called my lawyer again. He filed a formal complaint that same week. While this was happening, I started getting messages from old coworkers, most of them anonymous. Some were worried. Some were angry. One accused me of burning the whole place down, said people with kids were scared of losing their jobs. That one stayed with me for a while, because the truth is, I wasn't proud of it. I didn't want anyone else to get hurt. I didn't want Amanda to cry on the phone. I didn't want the payroll manager to panic because she missed something I found. I didn't hate these people. I just hated the machine they were stuck inside, but I also knew what I saw, what I lived through, and I wasn't going to pretend it didn't happen just because it made people uncomfortable. This company had lied, covered up abuse, funneled money through relatives, punished people for speaking up, and then tried to replace me in secret like I was trash. I couldn't forget that. By now, the lawyer had sent a full report to the Department of Labor and the State Compliance Board. I gave my full statement. The investigation was active. Then I got a call from a journalist. She had heard rumors from someone in the legal network. Wanted to know if I'd go on record, anonymously at first. I said yes. What I didn't realize is that once the article dropped, everything would change. The article went live on a Tuesday morning. Same day of the week, I first saw the LinkedIn post. It didn't mention me by name, but it was obvious if you knew. Whistleblower accuses company name of fraud, retaliation, and HR misconduct. The journalist included screenshots, redacted, but real. She described billing fraud, nepotism, internal cover-ups, and retaliation against staff who spoke up. My folder, my words, my story. It caught fire on LinkedIn within hours. Someone posted it with the caption, "Now, we know why they've been silent." Then the story hit Twitter, then Reddit, then it showed up in an industry newsletter. I stayed quiet. No comments, no shares, nothing. I just watched. By noon, I got a message from someone I hadn't spoken to in years, Marcus, a former compliance officer. He left the company 3 years earlier. Said he had been pushed out after raising flags about some irregularities in procurement. He told me he still had his own records. Then he said something that made my stomach drop. They've done this before. He meant the fake job postings, the threats, the internal smear campaigns. He sent me PDFs. They showed internal meeting notes, HR redlining employee complaints, even an old email from Ken asking if we can find cause to remove Marcus quietly. Different names, same tactics. That's when I realized it wasn't just about me. It never was. This was a pattern, a system. Quiet firings, legal threats, internal blacklists. They didn't just replace people, they erased them. And I wasn't the only one watching. A week after the article, an external audit firm announced they were reviewing the company's financials. Two of their largest clients paused contracts pending clarity. Investors started asking questions. Then came the twist I never expected. I got an offer, not a job offer, a settlement offer from the company. It came through my lawyer. They wanted me to sign an NDA. They offered a low six-figure payout to resolve any disputes and avoid further escalation. The letter was full of careful language without admission of guilt, for the sake of mutual peace. I stared at it for a long time. It was more than I'd seen in my bank account at once, ever. It would clear my student loans, cover my rent for a year, let me start over. But it would also erase everything I fought for. It would silence Amanda, silence Marcus, silence anyone else still inside, hanging on, afraid. I told my lawyer no. 2 days later, I got doxxed. It started with anonymous comments. Under the article, someone posted my initials. Then, a burner Twitter account shared my graduation photo from 10 years ago. Then my home address showed up on a sketchy forum. That's when I realized someone from inside was feeding this. They were trying to scare me. But it was too late, because right after that, the biggest twist dropped, and it didn't come from me. It came from inside the company. An anonymous employee leaked internal Slack messages to the journalist. Real ones. Screenshots of senior managers mocking employees who quit. One VP saying, "We'll smoke her out. She doesn't have the stomach for this." Another message from Ken, weeks before the article, that said, "Let her publish. She'll fold before it gets serious." They were talking about me. That second article hit harder than the first. This time, there was no denying it. After the second article dropped, the company couldn't run anymore. The leaked Slack messages blew it wide open. No one could claim it was out of context. Their own words showed who they were. Cold, arrogant, mocking the people they crushed, planning how to cover it up. The article went viral. 3 days later, one of their biggest clients, a global logistics firm, publicly announced they were suspending all contracts with them pending a full investigation. That client made up 38% of their revenue. The stock dropped 17% in a week. Suddenly, the board woke up. Ken was fired, not stepped down, not left to pursue other opportunities. Fired, publicly, without a press release. His LinkedIn disappeared overnight. People close to him said he went dark, stopped replying texts. He'd been with the company for over a decade. Gone in a day. HR leadership changed within a week. Melissa, the one I had shown the job post to, was put on administrative leave. A few months later, her name showed up in a LinkedIn post for a candle-making business. Corporate was done with her. The VP who screamed at Amanda? He got served. Literally. Amanda decided to come forward publicly. With my lawyer's help, she filed a suit for wrongful termination and hostile workplace conditions. She had the tapes, the emails, the post-meeting messages he thought she didn't save. I testified. So did Marcus. So did 2 others who came out after the second article. It became a class action. They tried to fight it, but the evidence was too solid. 7 months after I first saw that job post on LinkedIn, the company settled. Quietly, but not small. The payout was massive, more than I expected. Every person who was pushed out, blacklisted, or silenced got something back. But more than money, we got our names back. Amanda got hired by a nonprofit she always dreamed of working for. She runs their data team now. Marcus started consulting, helping other whistleblowers build cases. I helped him write the process. Me? I took time off. I traveled. I fixed the leaks in my apartment. I saw a therapist. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I wasn't looking over my shoulder. And then one day I got a message From someone still at the company. Someone I didn't know well. All it said was, "We saw what you did. You saved a lot of us. Thank you." I didn't reply. I didn't need to. They tried to replace me, quietly. They tried to erase me. They tried to scare me into silence. Instead, I took everything they tried to hide and pulled it into the light, not out of spite, not out of pride, but because someone had to say, enough. They thought I'd walk away with my head down. I walked away with my head up, and they're the ones who never came back.